At the beginning of the story, we see an ambulance taking a patient to the hospital. The man lying on the stretcher died on the way. He was a young man who had signed an organ donation form. This meant that all his organs would be used to help someone else. Two doctors began surgery to remove his organs. The man's skin was tougher than that of a rhinoceros. The doctors were having a lot of trouble extracting the organs. After some time, when the work was completed, suddenly, the nurse let out a loud scream. As the doctors hurriedly entered the operation theater, they witnessed the patient entirely transforming into ash and vanishing. Nevertheless, his heart was transplanted to a young girl named Lisa. The peculiar aspect was that her body did not reject the heart in the slightest. She recuperated remarkably fast. Within just a day or two, the hospital discharged her. But the unusual thing was that a circular mark emerged on her hand. This mark resembled a tattoo that she had never received. Lisa's father operated a taekwondo gymnasium. From an early age, Lisa possessed a significant interest in taekwondo, but during a competition, she suffered a heart attack which frightened her father immensely. He refused to allow her to participate in any fights. One day, while he was conversing with their landlord, Lisa kicked a punching bag and it crashed through the ceiling. She had never exhibited that level of strength even when she was in perfect health. Now she was eager to evaluate her newfound strength. She ventured out to the street and she faced her brother, tied her shoes, and then started running at full speed like Krish. She even overtook a person on a scooter. For a moment she felt like she was so fast she might fly, but then suddenly a slope began and it became difficult for her to stop. There was a small truck parked below. She collided with it so hard that she almost flipped it over. After getting this new heart, she had become incredibly strong. Someone secretly recorded her video and uploaded it online. Her name was visible on the uniform. A boy read her name and the name of the taekwondo gym and quickly reached there. He tried to take Lisa's photo from a distance, but Lisa swiftly reached him and caught him. He couldn't understand how this small girl was so powerful. "I can't run away." At that moment, Lisa noticed that Tom also had the same strange mark on his hand. Tom told Lisa that he also received an organ from the same man from whom she did, and he too got superpowers. He mentioned that a person can donate 6 organs. This means there will be a total of 6 people who will gain superpowers. Tom wanted to find the other people with superpowers, and the day after meeting Lisa, they found the third person. That day, Lisa was secretly participating in a race because the winner would receive very expensive shoes. She easily outpaced everyone and won, looking at her shoes. Just then, a slightly older woman approached them. She was distributing drinks to people for free. Due to her kidney transplant, she is now entirely well. Upon hearing this, both individuals promptly glanced at her hands, but there was no peculiar mark. However, after some time, when the woman turned around, they noticed a circular mark on her back. Subsequently, the scene transitioned to an opulent mansion where an elderly man named Minu was lying on the brink of death. The patient's elder daughter stepped out and summoned the doctor, stating that you had mentioned that father would recover. There is no progress in his condition. Just then, the elderly gentleman sat upright in his bed and mentioned that he was feeling quite famished and requested some nourishment. He appeared to be in good health. There was an unusual mark on his hand as well. It was evident that the wealthy elderly gentleman also possessed superpowers. Subsequently, we observe a young lad in an electronics store. He nonchalantly cracked his fingers and all the televisions before him simultaneously powered down. Wherever he happened to be, the electrical current would begin to fluctuate. This boy's name is Zero, and he proceeded to cross the street. He went in. He used his powers to win everything on the gaming machine. Then he started buying luxury items with all the money he won. Zero was also one of those 6 people who received parts. He was taking full advantage of this new life. His life had become easy mode. He was enjoying it. Then we see Lisa again. She had come to dinner with Tom and a woman named Sophia to understand each other's superpowers. Tom explained that he got new lungs, which is why his power is connected to his lungs. He acquired new lungs, thus his extraordinary ability is linked to his respiratory system. If he exhales forcefully, a tempest emerges, yet Sophia mentioned that she hasn't experienced any abilities within herself. In response, Tom reassured her not to be concerned, as when all the exceptional individuals gather, her power will naturally manifest. Abruptly, the lights overhead began to flicker. Then Zero made a dramatic entrance. He was already acquainted with the trio. He elaborated that from a considerable distance, he is capable of sensing that He possesses extraordinary abilities due to receiving new eyes through a transplant. Tom was not especially fond of this newcomer. He even mentioned to Lisa that one cannot simply trust everyone so easily. Among us, there might be an individual who desires all this power solely for themselves. It is essential to trust individuals judiciously. Then the following day, Lisa received an unusual message on her phone. Zero had reached out to her for assistance. He had been caught cheating during his usual gaming activities, and now the casino security personnel demanded all the money from him. "What is your desire? Are you Pikachu?" His fingers are twitching and he generates electricity. The trio went to assist him, but Tom was reluctant to lend a hand. He discreetly slipped into the restroom because he wasn't particularly fond of Zero. However, the hero within Lisa was awakened. She declared that it is crucial to combat injustice. She took the straw from Sophia's beverage and placed it beneath Tom's nose. This caused Tom to sneeze with such force that an immense gust of wind erupted from his mouth, sweeping all the thugs away. Subsequent to this, we observed the identical, affluent, elderly gentleman, Minu, once more. He engaged in a heated dispute with his business associate over a certain matter. The disagreement intensified to such an extent that Minu seized his associate by the neck and siphoned all the vitality from him. The associate abruptly aged significantly, whereas Minu seemed noticeably more youthful. Minu then advanced and made contact with the plant, extracting all the life force from it as well, rendering it utterly withered. Following this, we witnessed John in an industrial facility where he was employed. The workers were under heavy pressure to speed up their tasks as they had to work all night. One worker, angry, confronted him saying, "Sir, you're wrong. Forcing us to work this much is unfair. We have personal lives too." During their heated argument, the alarm suddenly sounded. A worker fell from above due to poor safety measures. When no one was watching, John quietly placed his hand over the injured worker's wound. In moments, the wound was fully healed. However, John was feeling a lot of He was experiencing significant discomfort and discreetly moved to the side to endure all of it. Meanwhile, the elderly gentleman's daughter, Tina, came to the realization that the newfound strength her father possessed must have originated from the transplant. Consequently, she directed her team to swiftly investigate everyone who had acquired powers from that particular transplant. Before long, her assistant successfully identified all those individuals. At this point, they were seated on Sophia's beverage cart, escaping from the gang members because the casino individuals now sought retribution against them. The assistant promptly pursued them. 3 vehicles were speeding down the highway. Lisa continued to propel the cart, accelerating at a pace surpassing that of the cars. Eventually, she distanced herself significantly from the vehicles, yet the casino individuals were unwilling to abandon the pursuit. At that moment, Tom retrieved several beverages from the cart and began hurling them at the pursuers. A white liquid splattered onto their windshields, causing them to lose their direction. They managed to escape from the thugs, but the cart's speed was so high that they quickly entered a barbecue restaurant. All 4 pretended as if they were just sitting there waiting. "Why isn't any waiter coming?" They only emerged from the restaurant after the sun had set. Tom initiated a heated argument with Zero, asserting that due to Zero's actions, everyone nearly lost their lives today. Their disagreement intensified to such an extent that they all parted ways. Lisa was deeply troubled by this altercation. She had been on medical leave for an entire year, had not attended school, and had no friends. The moment she shared with Tom and Sophia had become her entire world, and now it felt as though everything had come to an end. However, the following day, after regaining some composure, Tom approached Lisa to offer his apologies. He expressed, in a fit of anger, he said something harsh. "Sorry, please forgive me." Lisa pretended at first, but then agreed. Now she made a plan to gather all 4 of them again in one place. Meanwhile, Tina's assistant showed her a recorded video, and Tina decided that they must capture these people. They could extract power from their bodies to make powerful medicines. Who knows what kinds of diseases those medicines will be able to cure? She will become even richer. Meanwhile, Lisa, Sophia and Zero had reached the meeting point. During this time, Zero had also found out who received the liver transplant. They were all just waiting for the storm. Then they would all go together to find this new member. Over at the factory, we see John talking to his senior, saying that, "Sir, we need to increase the workers' safety a bit." Nevertheless, the higher-ranking authorities appeared indifferent to the workers' well-being. John was under such tremendous work pressure that he even skipped his lunch break to complete his assignments while his exhausted colleagues went to eat. No one noticed that a nearby gas tank was slowly leaking. Outside the factory, our 3 superheroes were waiting patiently for Tom. Suddenly, there was a massive explosion from the factory. John quickly began evacuating all the workers to minimize injuries. Unfortunately, a worker got stuck behind the safety door. Seeing this, John became very anxious. He started breaking the window with his helmet, but unfortunately, it wasn't helping. Just then, Lisa arrived at the right time. She kicked the door with great force and broke it. She was also kicking away the gas canisters flying from the explosion. However, the electronic security door inside was very powerful. Subsequently, it became Zero's opportunity, who effortlessly opened the door with a swift snap. In the meantime, Tom had finally arrived. Although he was slightly delayed, the entire area was engulfed in thick smoke, making it difficult to locate the injured individuals. At that moment, Zero snapped once more, activating the ringtones on all the workers' phones, which enabled Tom to pinpoint their locations. Tom was able to rescue them with ease because he could take a deep breath and enter the smoke-filled area. His lungs were sufficiently strong to hold his breath for an extended period. As soon as the injured worker was brought to safety, John promptly utilized his immense strength to heal the injured worker. However, the exertion proved overwhelming for him and he began to cough up blood. Sophia quickly realized that the toxic gas had infiltrated John's lungs. She stepped forward, grasped John's hand, and with her other hand, she held on to Tom's. She had the ability to connect everyone's powers. As Tom's lung strength was transferred into John, he became entirely fine, and Sophia also discovered her own unique power. The factory was swiftly becoming engulfed with hazardous smoke, prompting the group to make a hasty departure. As everyone began to exit, Sophia abruptly halted in her steps. They had inadvertently left Zero inside, so Tom promptly took a deep breath and rushed back in. He located Zero, and everyone assumed he would disperse all the gas. However, instead, he commenced administering mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to Zero. Somehow, both of them successfully managed to escape. It was an unusual sight, but it accomplished the task. They got out safely. After that, the five of them went to a nearby restaurant to eat. John told everyone that he had gained the power to save someone's life. I can take anyone's pain inside me. At first it hurts a lot, but then after drinking some water and resting a bit, I feel better. By working together on this mission and saving people, they all formed a unique bond. The next day, John went to the hospital to see his injured colleagues, but in the elevator, he met that old man. John worked in the same company, so he saluted the old man, but accidentally, the mark on his palm was visible. Minu went closer and observed carefully, saying that this is a tart. To which John replied, No, sir, I had a liver transplant a little while ago. After that, this mark appeared on its own. But when Minu asked if anything else had changed inside him, John found it quite strange to talk about the superpower thing, so he remained silent and said, No, sir, I just feel fine, nothing else. Hearing this, Minu made a plan and before leaving, he memorized John's name and where he worked. That night, John was working as a driver to earn some extra money. His passenger was none other than Tina's assistant. A while later, when he opened his eyes, he was in a hospital. Tina instructed the doctor to quickly remove his liver, but before the doctors could begin the operation, Minu arrived there. His intentions were not so clear. He asked the doctor if a part of the liver remains, can it regenerate? When the doctor confirmed, Minu tried to extract John's power by grabbing his neck, but he couldn't do it in John's case. He sensed that perhaps his extraordinary power had diminished, so he attempted it on a nearby medical professional. The doctor immediately aged and passed away. Minu came to the realization that his power would not function on individuals possessing superpowers. Minu instructed to remove 90% of his liver and attach it to him, leaving 10% so it could regenerate. Since they were unable to locate another liver for his body, Tina directed her team to capture the other individuals with superpowers. In the meantime, Tom had just exited a store when security personnel in suits forcefully pinned him against the wall. They attempted to render him unconscious with anesthesia, but he wasn't breathing. Subsequently, they tickled him to induce breathing, and that's when he lost consciousness. Meanwhile, Sophia and Zero were also ambushed and were swiftly captured. Ultimately, Lisa found herself cornered right at her doorstep. Observing the thugs, Lisa's father remarked, "Sweetheart, you sit back and relax. I'll handle them." But the master. Only enough to teach 14-year-old kids were left. Maintaining her father's illusion and confidence, Lisa was quietly defeating those people in such a way that her father thought he was the one fighting them. Lisa's father felt like he had defeated all the enemies. However, the real work was being done by Lisa, but she had become so fast that whenever he turned around, she appeared to be sitting calmly on the bench. When all the goons ran away, Lisa's father rushed to her and asked, "Are you okay, dear?" Lisa was safe, but the rest were already caught. Tina's associates apprehended him and confined him in a detention facility where he was unable to utilize his abilities. Meanwhile, following a liver transplant procedure, the aged Minu regained the vitality necessary to recuperate. He had reverted to his youthful era and appeared more youthful than his own daughter. Deep within her thoughts, Tina was anticipating her father's demise so she could become the exclusive proprietor of the company. However, upon seeing her father, she felt as though she might perish before him. Minu returned home, took a bath, and once again gazed into the mirror. He was extremely delighted to observe his rejuvenated physique. Abruptly, darkness descended upon the area, and he discovered himself in an entirely different setting. Before him stood an enigmatic force with its arms extended. Minu advanced to attempt to seize the hands of this mysterious power, but the unfamiliar force drew him towards it. His face would intermittently appear youthful and then aged, after which Minu, in frustration, shook his hand away. He understood that all of this was transpiring within his mind, the wound on his hand from the shattered glass. The wound on his hand healed in an instant, but he was still not satisfied. He had now decided that he would acquire all the organs. He wanted everyone's superpowers. Now he wanted to become a god so that people would worship him. Tina couldn't do anything against her father's strength. Minu broke into the prison Tina had created and started beating her people. They couldn't do anything against his power either. Minu quickly found out about the 3 people who had been captured. At that time, Zero was trying to snap his fingers with his toes. He was endeavoring to snap his fingers because his hands were restrained in an unusual manner. As soon as he managed to succeed, 2 workers approached him and began to bind and escort him away. Zero snapped his fingers once more using his feet to transmit a message to Lisa. Informing her about his whereabouts, he snapped his fingers yet again to unlock Sophia's jail door, but then the doctor rendered him unconscious in the very next moment. Meanwhile, Lisa was making preparations to rescue her companions. As soon as her father discovered all of this, he made the decision to accompany her. After defeating the goons in the previous battle, they had gained an overwhelming sense of confidence. One of Zero's eyes had already been removed. Fortunately, he regained consciousness just in time, and his other eye was preserved because his abrupt awakening prevented further harm. Instead of ending his life, Minu left him with John. During this period, John's liver gradually began to heal. John grasped Zero's hand firmly to facilitate the healing of the eye that had sustained injury. To exhibit her newfound strength, Minu orchestrated an event where individuals afflicted with incurable ailments were invited. Everyone was utterly amazed to witness Minu's rejuvenated youthfulness. In a display of her power, she shattered a wall that bore her old image engraved upon it. However, this method instilled fear among the people. It did not foster respect or devotion within them. Consequently, Minu quickly altered her approach. He grasped Kapahi Chandi's hands firmly and, utilizing the extraordinary power he had acquired from John, entirely healed her. Subsequently, he approached a severely ill girl and restored her to perfect health as well. At this point, individuals genuinely began perceiving him as a deity. Everyone knelt and bowed in reverence before him. Meanwhile, Minu perceived that Lisa was approaching. With a snap of his fingers, the path for their arrival was unveiled. Then, putting on a grand display, he seated himself on an enormous throne and then arrived. Standing before Lisa and her father, Lisa instantly comprehended that the man was absorbing everyone's powers, and without hesitation, she launched an attack on him. Minu's hand indeed fractured, but as soon as he drank some water, the fracture swiftly mended. Meanwhile, Sophia and Tom also made their appearance. The trio of friends was reunited. In his anger, Minu declared that it was wonderful that everyone had gathered together. Now, promptly hand over your organs. Lisa's father still possessed an excessive amount of unwarranted confidence and However, Minu gestured with his hand and sent them flying away. Lisa, utilizing her agility, managed to save her father, ensuring he wasn't severely injured. Subsequently, an intense battle erupted. Both Lisa and Minu possessed extraordinary superpowers. Enormous explosions were occurring. Their confrontation was causing widespread devastation. Unfortunately, Lisa only had the power of a single organ, whereas Minu possessed the power of 3, and he swiftly began overpowering Lisa significantly. At this point, Tom and Sophia rushed to her aid. They finally arrived. Tom exhaled forcefully in Minu's direction, causing him to be propelled far away. This action infuriated Minu immensely. He jabbed Tom firmly on the forehead, rendering Tom unconscious. Subsequently, Minu sees Sophia, but Sophia commenced draining his power. Observing this, Minu was taken aback. He understood that Sophia possessed the ability to transfer powers. He exclaimed, "Quickly hand over the remaining powers. I won't have to resort to stealing organs." However, at that very moment, Zero and John made their entrance. Now, with all 5 of them united, they consolidated their strength against the formidable Minu. To conclude the battle swiftly, Lisa positioned herself at the forefront. She emitted a whistle to signal Tom. Tom comprehended and unleashed a powerful gust of wind. This provided Lisa with an immense boost, enabling her to deliver a punch with all her strength. There was no possibility of battling individually. Therefore, everyone amalgamated their powers to bolster Lisa. However, Minu was exceedingly powerful. He was controlling the surrounding electricity with his power. Zero was also snapping his fingers to attack with the nearby electricity. But this was not enough to defeat Minu. Soon the large pillars of the hall began to break. Statues started to fall. The steel framework below became visible, but everyone below was busy worshipping their new god. Minu was severely injured, so he absorbed the water that had accumulated on the ground and healed all of his wounds completely. He then threw everyone aside as if they were mere balls. Subsequently, he began choking Lisa with just one hand. Blood started to flow from Lisa's mouth. Then he reached out towards Sophia, but the 5 of them collectively caught Minu, and Sophia swiftly transferred his healing power to Lisa. At this point, Minu had lost his ability to heal once again. Meanwhile, Lisa had become significantly stronger than Minu. She handled Mina as though she was striking a punching bag. After some time, Minu collapsed to the ground, completely unconscious. The entire building commenced collapsing on all the followers seated below. As the structure of the building began to crumble, everyone collaborated to stabilize it. Nevertheless, during this period, Minu seized the opportunity to launch another attack, attempting to steal their powers. Ultimately, Lisa's father turned around and delivered a tremendously powerful blow, sending Minu flying away. They extracted all the strength from Minu, and he became elderly. Now he was seated upon the very throne that had once aided in his ascent, and with a single snap he was sent back down before everyone. When his followers witnessed the genuine form of their deity, the truth was unveiled to all. Ultimately, Minu lost absolutely everything. If you had the opportunity, whose superpower would you opt to absorb? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.